anyị na Chineke nna nke pụrụ ihe niile. Onye ọ bụ naanị ya na-azọpụta. Onye ọ bụ naanị ya bụ okwu ya niile bụ ihe na amen. Anyị wee na-asị ezi ebube dị ngọzi na n'ụtụtụ na ịja mma na nsọpụrụ site n'ebighị ebi ma ruo n'ebighị ebi. Ise, ise, ise.
Welcome, my amazing viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you are joining from. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you so much and remain blessed. If you are joining me from Africa, Asia, Europe, America, Australia, or any part of the world, I thank you very much for your contribution. Please, each time you watch my video, go to the comment section and put down your comment. That is
Q Briggs, and Q Briggs joins us virtually, and of course she is a Niger Delta activist. Good to have you join us this morning, Q Briggs.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
All right, and let's begin by asking you to give us a foundation to this issue that we're discussing this morning. We know that contracts have been awarded, and two supposed juiciest contract was awarded to the same person, which is causing some tension in the Niger Delta at the moment. Give us a brief foundation to this problem.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Excuse me. The contracts, as we have them now, Tom Polo has a percentage of this contract. A traditional ruler in the Niger Delta, a prominent traditional ruler in the Niger Delta, has a portion of that contract. A late prominent businessman from Niger Delta, Edo State, also has a portion of this contract. So first of all, it shouldn't really be just about, the discussion should not be just about Tom Polo. And I want to take this opportunity to speak to all my brothers and sisters that are from the Ijaw ethnic nationality, that we should not allow ourselves always to be divided on the issues of fighting for justice and equity when it involves contracts. Contracts are business concessions. And if somebody applies for a contract, and the person is given the contract, it should not bring a dispute amongst the Ijaw people. I hate it that Ijaw people have allowed themselves to be seen as if what we are interested in is just money and money and money. Everybody is interested in money. But our primary issue has always been the issue of the devastation of the Niger Delta region. It has always been about the poverty of the people of the Niger Delta region. It has always been about the fact that we give so much, and have given so much to this country that takes away the resources in the Niger Delta region and leave things like gold in Zamfara and other places in Nigeria to the people to do what they like with. It is absolutely unacceptable to us as Niger Delta people to always, especially Ijaw people, to always be portrayed as people who can't work together. And this, I appeal to my people, must stop. And we must refocus and be focused on what the real issues are. The real issues are we are very marginalized in Nigeria. And the issues are that we're talking about a change, a great change, not just contract being given to a section of people to cool down the tension in the Niger Delta. Right now, Nigeria is unable to meet up its capacity within the OPEC quota that is allocated to Nigeria. And yet there has been this contract given since Buhari's tenure. And we have seen an increase in oil theft. Recently, we heard that there is a shipload, a huge ship that was carrying over 3 million or so barrels of oil and they were chased into the waters of Equatorial Guinea. So that shows very clearly that Nigeria and the federal government of Nigeria is really not just incapable or refusing to protect the inside of Nigeria. They are also unable to protect people coming in to Nigeria through the Atlantic Ocean to cut away the resources of the Niger Delta people that the federal government claims belongs to it.
All right, Ankyo Briggs, you recall that Tompolo did handle a similar contract under former President Goodluck Jonathan, and when President Buhari came in 2015, you know, that contract was reviewed, and at a point, Tompolo was declared wanted by the federal government of Nigeria. Are you concerned that this man who was once declared by the government is now being called upon and awarded such a juicy contract?
First of all, I have explained at my opening that it is not such a juicy contract. I have mentioned to you that a traditional ruler has part of this contract. And I've also mentioned to you that a late Edo State son also has part of this contract. What they have, the two of them have, is bigger individually than what Tompolo has. So let's put that one aside. I also said to you that when Tompolo had this contract during Jonathan's tenure, definitely Nigeria was able to raise the output of the oil going out to up to 2 million or 2 point something million barrels a day. And yet today we're told, while we have two other contractors that have been working on protecting the pipelines in the Niger Delta before it was given to Tompolo, that right now Nigeria can hardly meet this quota, and it's just barely struggling to meet up 1 million barrels a day. Now, coming to say that, am I concerned that Tompolo, who was, as in your words and in the words of the federal government, that Tompolo is an ex-militant. Now, when Tompolo was armed and in the creeks, and since he came out, the time he's been out is far more than the times he was in. That's one. Now, when Tompolo was declared wanted, that's another story, and we did react to that. Now, coming back to when Tompolo being declared wanted and now having a contract as a businessman, we have armed bandits unknown, as we are told. We have terrorists unknown, as we are told, that are captured, we are told, and then have repented, we are told, and are now into the society doing what they like. What the difference between the Niger Delta agitation, which really should be on and must go on, and the agitation of banditry and the agitation of terrorism in the northern part of Nigeria are not the same thing. And the comparison is not acceptable. The constant comparison. We hear that a group of Arewa youths and up to 200 different youths are saying in the north that they also should be given contracts. Yeah, I totally agree. They should be given contracts to go into Sambisa forest and drive out the terrorists and drive out the bandits that have been ravaging the north of Nigeria, capturing women and taking them to Niger, to all sorts of places and selling them. The issue of the Niger Delta region and the issue that we have been confronted with in the past 1.5 decades of banditry and terrorism is not the same. And comparing them all the time continues to be unacceptable to the Niger Delta people and the Niger Delta region. I continue to appeal to my brothers, my sons in the Niger Delta, that these are our issues that we must resolve. And we must first clearly see where the government comes into this. Don't forget, we're running into so-called election within 6 months, where the federal government is claiming it is going to conduct a census within the next 12 months. These are things that should concern us, because what is happening now is more or less, in my opinion, once again, a distraction for the Niger Delta people with the coming of election and the issue of the water bill. The water bill is another point, or a sore point, for the Niger Delta people. We don't want the water bill. We will reject the water bill, and we will not allow the water bill to pass. If the water bill passes, we will blame the people that represent us at the National Assembly, the governors and the senators. What is happening with this contract should not be happening. It's an issue that we must resolve, and resolve very quickly.
All right, Anne, I still want to stay a little bit with this contract. If this contract was cancelled at the beginning of, this APC administration and now re-awarded to Tompolo, the question a lot of people are asking is, why so? Is it possible that this is to gain political favor from that region, from this region of the country?
Oh, I mean, I mentioned again that we're preparing to go into politics, if actually we're going into politics. And you cannot discuss whatever happens in the Niger Delta region without politics coming into it, because politics is the suffering of the Niger Delta people. The devastation of our environment is failure of leadership and rulership. It is failure to do justice and equity for the Niger Delta people. So now the federal government issued this contract to Tompolo. Like I have said, Tompolo was not just walking down the street and he was accosted and given the contract. He applied for this contract. And like you quite rightly said, he had this contract during the Jonathan era. And so did other stakeholders, I might say, in the Niger Delta. And then when this government came in, as you rightly said, they terminated the contract. And Tompolo was in court with them over the contract and over the issue of the Okarenkoku Marine University. And so to want to associate what is very clearly a business opportunity with the agitation for justice of the Niger Delta people is not acceptable. If Tompolo has decided to go into business, that is Tompolo's basic right to go into business. Now, if the government is re-awarding a portion, a fraction of that of the holistic contract to Tompolo, amongst other people that already have an existing contract, then that is the federal government. Now, if we're saying that it is an issue, then why is it not an issue with us in the Niger Delta that a traditional ruler also has part of that contract? Why is it not an issue with us that a Niger Delta son also has that contract? So you see, when I say that these are issues that we should resolve, because it shows us up that we constantly allow outside influence to influence our focus on what we have been fighting for since the days of Adakaboro, since the days of when the white man was in dispute with the traditional rulers that were in charge of selling palm kernel and palm oil and the produce that goes with that. The focus of the Niger Delta people should be, at this time, what is our role politically? What do we want in this country? Do we want to continue with the 1999 Constitution? Do we want to continue in a situation where the federal government takes 100% of our resources and claims it is giving us 13% and does not tell us what they are doing with the 87% and hankers on about what are we doing about the 13%. It now makes us to look as if we are being condemned for owning the resources that is in our land and leaving what is very critical all over the world today, that Nigeria is the hub of terrorism and the hub of Christians being persecuted. It's an accepted thing all over the world that these are the things that are going on in Nigeria. So to now bring the issue of Tompolo's contract that the government awarded to him, not secretly, I might add, openly, is not acceptable. And from what I have gathered so far in talking with Tompolo, is that he is in consultation with his brothers, with his sisters in the Niger Delta, in other ethnic nationalities across the Niger Delta, in Delta State. He's talking to people in River State. He's talking to women. So now, if that is what is going on, we expect the traditional ruler to be able to be speaking with all the ethnic nationalities in the Niger Delta over his contract. We expect the company that belongs to the Edo Sun also to be talking to the Niger Delta people, because his contract, their contract, also comes into other ethnic nationalities' land and going through their land. The contract does not stop with Tompolo. There are two other people who have this contract, and the pipelines they are given to protect is all across the Niger Delta. So I don't really see why we should allow the discussion to be about only Tompolo, in essence, to be about only Ijaw people. Only Ijaw people and not the people that have this contract alone. Other ethnic nationalities have this contract. And actually, the federal government, just as they announced that they have given this contract to Tompolo, are compelled now, I call on them to stop this hankering that they have put in our midst and also declare the percentage of what they've given to Tompolo, the percentage they've given to the traditional ruler, and the percentage that they've given to a businessman. You will find that Tompolo's is least of all the contract. So why announce Tompolo's contract and leave the others out? I appeal to my brothers that are agitating. They have a point that they also should be able to be to be part of the contract that is going to be monitored in the Niger Delta, as long as we have decided to restrict ourselves in Nigeria to monologue issues and not actually catch up with technology. In Saudi Arabia, they are monitoring their fields, they are monitoring their gas and their oil right in a room where they can see every drop of oil. Nigeria is so backward that Nigeria is using the award of contract to further divide the Niger Delta people, particularly the Ijaws, making the Ijaws to seem to other ethnic nationalities that all we do is go after contract. Everybody has the right to business and a livelihood, and that the federal government is directly responsible, in my opinion, for this argument that is going on, or that they have instigated to go on in the Niger Delta, particularly amongst the Ijaw people, and making the Ijaw people have allowed the federal government to make us look as if we don't know what we want. We know what we want. We want to own our resources. We want self-determination. These are the things that we want. We want to decide the people who rule us. We want to know how many people are in Nigeria, in whatever corners of Nigeria, and exactly how much of our oil is being used to develop other parts of Nigeria while neglecting the Niger Delta region.
All right, thank you, Briggs. I think some Nigerians would want to get clarity on these issues and know the intention behind this pipeline contract, in view of the fact that some people are beginning to insinuate that it's a political strategy to garner votes for the ruling party ahead of the 2023 general election. But let's look at what has given rise to this pipeline surveillance contract. And that's, of course, is oil theft. You have a rich experience working in the Niger Delta region. Who do you think is responsible for this theft, and who is enabling it?
Thank you for that question and that accrediting. Now, when the late Yaradua was alive and my people were in the creeks under the name, different names, under different Ijo sons in different parts of the Niger Delta states, and the government was trying to find a way out. And why was Yaradua's government trying to find a way out? Because the agitation had reduced the output of oil from 2 million point something barrels to literally 700, between 700 and 800,000 naira. And so Nigeria literally was broke because the oil companies had also declared a force majeure. Now, that was the situation that we were in at that time. And discussing the issue of pipeline protection came up in the discussion. It came up in the discussion for what to do in Rivers State, for Rivers people, because the agitation was already getting resolved and calmed, and discussion was going on in Bayelsa State between the Governor Timipri Silva and the agitators in his state. Discussions were going on between the Governor of Delta State, Udwanga, and the agitators in Delta, but nothing was going on in Rivers State. So the issue, and I have first-hand information because I was involved, the issue of awarding the protection of pipelines in Rivers State, just in Rivers State, was already agreed upon with Yaradua before he unfortunately passed away. Then Jonathan came on board and took up that discussion and decided to spread it across the Niger Delta as opposed to restricting it only to Rivers State. Now, the agitation we had and we conducted, some of us were talking, some of us were carrying guns, but it was the same agitation. Now, when that agitation was going on, the discussion led us to amnesty. The discussion led us to people like Tompolo accepting to look for another means of to go back into society. And so business, awarding of certain business that involved the rivers in the Niger Delta was accepted. Hence, we came about the protection of the pipelines. Now, if you compare what happened in the Niger Delta and the reasons they happened in the Niger Delta, you cannot, in any good conscience, begin to even compare what is going on in the north of Nigeria, where the federal government cannot protect Nigeria. So we have strangers, non-Nigerians, coming into Nigeria in their tens and hundreds of thousands, if not millions, and have been distributed all over Nigeria. They've been distributed because they are in my place, they are in my community. So I'm speaking directly from what I know. And then today we have the issue of the water bill that is going to take away our rights to the water, so that if I want to dig a borehole, I have to go and get permission from the government in Abuja. If I want to fish, I have to go and get permission from someone in Abuja. So when you compare this type of agitation that is going on in the north and and the exposure of what is happening in Nigeria, the issue of the Niger Delta becomes almost like a discussion of a gentleman, a group of gentlemen, because I cannot compare myself to the barbarity of what is happening in the north and compare it to the agitation that we are having in the Niger Delta region. So I disagree that we are responsible in any way or should begin to excuse ourselves for what the federal government has decided to do. The federal government must realize that today in Nigeria, the type of politics that is coming up, it's very clear that the people of Nigeria, not just of Niger Delta, are sick and tired of the two major political parties. We're sick and tired of them because they have not delivered. And so all politicians in all political parties must see now that it is no longer a question of giving contract to whoever you think is going to be able to deliver votes for you. And I also want to call on my people in the Niger Delta, especially the Ijaw people and all other ethnic nationalities in the Niger Delta, because it is no longer acceptable that we are exposed to dying. In the last election, over close to 50 people were killed in my community because of political party elections. And so there is no reason for young men and women to expose themselves to death because of politics. It's only in Nigeria that you see this type of killing, mass killing in Nigeria during elections. And it is restricted only to one part of Nigeria. So whether it is pipeline protection, if we own the resources, we must control it. If we are controlling the resources and we're still killing ourselves and fighting over the resources, then you can say to us that that is our problem. But if that is not what is happening, then I continue to say that the federal government knows exactly what it is doing when it makes it to seem as if it has awarded contract to Tompolo or to any other person, actually, of Ijaw extraction, because elections are coming and they expect that Tompolo is going to deliver election for them, or Ankyo or anybody else is going to deliver election for them, and therefore are prepared to kill ourselves so that a political party can emerge. No, I do not believe that we're prepared to do that anymore. And the sensitization for us not to do that anymore is full-fledged on. Nobody should expect, at least let me speak for my ethnic nationality, nobody should expect my people to come out and die willingly. And if there are any of my people, the young ones that I call my sons, that will come out and take a risk that will kill them, then they cannot blame anybody else but themselves. Because the children of politicians, where are they? They are all over the world, graduating from Ivy League universities, all over the place. They are getting married in their 20s, in their just as soon as they finish graduation, they've sorted themselves out and they are married. And yet the children of people in the Niger Delta cannot even fish anymore because there is no place to fish. We can't farm because our land is polluted. And every election, we have this discussion, and Ijaw people are constantly asked to defend the very essence of living. We are asked to defend why we should have a job to do, why we should be given the contract to protect pipelines that is destroying our livelihood, and that why are there not other people having the same thing? I don't care if the government decides to give the forest in the north over to the youths of the north and give them guns to carry in the north and fight the terrorists. It's not the same as what we're talking about in the Niger Delta.
All right, Ankyo Briggs, thank you for your thoughts so far. We'll take a short break at this point, but we'll be right back to conclude on this conversation. Stay.
Ankyo Briggs, a Niger Delta activist, is still very much with us as we take her concluding remarks on this issue. So, Ankyo Briggs, I'm sure that the idea of awarding pipeline surveillance contracts to ex-militants leaders have been informed by the inability of the various security formations in the Niger Delta to effectively police these oil pipelines. Let's look at the capacity of these ex-militant leaders to do the needful. I'm talking about effectively policing these oil pipelines. Do they have the capacity to do the work?
I think that the Niger Delta people have demonstrated time and again their capacity to defend themselves and their rights, and therefore their capacity to defend the waters that is a natural habitat for us. The waters, the creeks, the mangroves, the swamps is our natural, God-given habitat. We will not survive outside of the Niger Delta anywhere in the desert as we survive in the Niger Delta region. Now, the discussion as to whether the capacity is there to protect. I have said earlier on in our conversation that before Tompolo was given this contract the second time round from this government that took it away from him, that other companies are and were protecting the pipelines of the Niger Delta. They failed. Now, we in the Niger Delta region, in the Ijaw areas, know very well what goes on in and how the foreign ships come to load the oil. Before Yaradua died, there was a meeting we had with Yaradua, and the responsibility to present what was going on in the Niger Delta when it comes to stealing, crude oil stealing, was rested upon my fragile shoulders to explain it to the President Yaradua. And I told him then, and I repeat it now because it has not changed, that the stealing of crude oil is a technological issue, one. Two, we have JTF that kill our people, that now that there is local refining that goes on in the Niger Delta, that further destroy our environment. These people are supposed to protect and stop people from stealing. They are part of the stealing. I tell you that the armed forces that are located and sent to the Niger Delta region are also business partners and do partake in the owning of cooking of crude oil. Even my governor, the governor of Rivers State, has said that openly. They are involved. We have the Navy that is supposed to control the waters up to the mouth of the Atlantic Ocean, up to 200 nautical miles coming from the Atlantic into the banks of the riverine areas. So if anything is being stolen and they are not aware, then the Navy has failed, they should leave our waters. And if they are aware, I'm saying that the collective armed forces of JTF, Air Force, and Navy are very clearly part of this cooking of oil, breaking of pipeline, because I said it's a technological thing. The oil companies are part of this business of stealing oil. Now, the amount that then our people are involved in is very minimal compared to what people who have the responsibility to protect their pipelines are doing. Now, am I saying, therefore, that it is okay for some of my people to break pipelines and be involved in that business? No, I'm not saying so. But what I am saying is that my people have the capacity to actually show very clearly that they can supply the demand of the Niger Delta people that will otherwise not have oil and not have gas for cooking and not have kerosene, because we don't have filling stations on the waters. And the federal government and the oil companies do not bring petrol and kerosene and gas to Kola and Soku. You take Kola and Soku, they are a large proportion of the people that produce oil and gas. And yet, it takes days, hours to get a drum of petrol from Port Harcourt to the people in Abonima, my place, by road, and then put it on boat to go to Kola, to go to Soku, to go to all the other fishing ports that also vote during the election, whose vote count. And they are responsible for the fact that the government, is responsible for this going on, because one, they're not protecting, and two, they've criminalized a source of income instead of finding out how they can actually encourage our people to use this avenue of providing for themselves, therefore decriminalizing the stealing of oil. When a ship can come in and load 3 million barrels of oil, 3 million barrels of oil, more than the quota Nigeria is allocated to produce in OPEC, and a foreign ship can come in and take it, and you say it's NQ that is taking it. How are we taking it? Do we own those badges? No. Do we own those ships? No. Do we own the mothership? No. So how is this thing being taken out of the Niger Delta creeks? Until any government, whether it is APC, whether it is PDP, whether it is Labour that is coming in, until they accept that the way the Niger Delta is seen and the way the Niger Delta issues are resolved, unless they agree that there is an injustice, and find out how we can work together so that we are able to provide for ourselves. You cannot tell me that somebody in Zamfara can bring in Chinese people, can bring in Nigerians, can bring in people from all over Africa that are not Nigerians to come and mine gold in the north and some part of the southwest, and yet you are telling me that I and Briggs cannot put together a small place where we can produce at least what our people can use to make life easy for them. That is why we are calling, have been calling, and will continue to call for self-determination. We will continue to call for ownership of our resources at the very minimum, so that we can move forward. But if
we have to go at this point
and refuses these things and continues to use the 1999 Constitution that takes away these things, and this government is planning.
All right, thank you, Briggs. We have to thank you very much for your time. Nigeria loses 400,000 barrels of oil daily to oil theft, and unfortunately Nigeria is also not able to make its OPEC quota of 1.8 million barrels. Right now Nigeria is delivering 1.4 million barrels. All of these has formed the basis of our conversation, and of course all the tensions in the Niger Delta region. So we want to say a very big thank you to you, Niger Delta activist Ankyo Briggs, for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, that's
Thank you so much for your patience to watch from the beginning to the end. I hope you have learned something from the video you have just watched. The video you have just watched is to bring information to your doorstep and for educational purpose. It is not to demonize anybody. Let us watch continuously and see who can be able to make a sense out of every nonsense we are seeing. We must continue. We move. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. They will kill us. We will kill them. At the end of the day, Biafra is here. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please kindly subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you and remain blessed. Bye-bye. See you again.